um, that tonight's topic that I want to share with you is this compassionate connection and caring in grief, and where that comes from, because I hear so many of you as you share your experience with me, either personally or in posts or any of the back and forth that I have with people in the group. Um, this this deep-seated need and this right for compassionate care is a core of healthy grieving. And everything about my work, whether it's sharing free content here in the group for you, which I hope that you find helpful and supportive, or it's the one-on-one with me, which I do a small amount of, or it's my programs. I have paid programs for grief support that are a deeper dive than this, and they're a place where we can get personal and we can get real and we can get into your unique grief experience and your story and your loved one's story and all of it in the proper setting that is a safe container and a sacred space for dealing with this massive, massive thing that you are going through, the loss of a loved one or loved ones. And everything about every piece of work I do, whatever piece is going out into the world, it is about finding a way to grieve in a healthy way. Because you can grieve in a healthy way and you can grieve in an unhealthy way. And you can grieve in a balanced way with a foundation of support, or you can grieve in an unbalanced way without support. And I'm not just talking about other people listening to you or group support, or I'm not talking about external support. I'm talking about a place inside of you where you are able to hold the space for yourself to grieve in a balanced, healthy, supported way. Now, I don't mean DIYing your grief experience. A lot of people try that. They're like, no, I'm going to read the books. I'm going to watch your videos. I'm going to join all the different support groups, and I think I can make it through this. And yes, that is possible and certainly doable. And I would say that it is a much more aligned and loving and healthy and balanced way is if you get the right help, whatever that is, whether that's working with me or someone else or both. Um, I want you to have the resources you deserve, because grief takes it all. It takes it all. There's nothing else like this experience. So, having worked with people over decades and having done so much different holistic counseling and holistic work with people, this is it's a massive experience, and it kind of takes every tool in your arsenal. So, when I say that this is about connection and compassion and caring in grief, what I want is for you to find those things in every place you can find them, because you're going to need them all. So, welcome to day 5 of Navigating the Holidays in Grief. And I'm Pamela Ann Noxon, your holistic grief educator and grief coach. And I want to just start with a little quick piece that I always start with about thanking you for being here and about why I do this work. I don't talk about my own grief experience or my own loss experience a lot in my programs or in the group, in case you haven't noticed that, because I believe this is about your needs. And what I have seen for years and decades, especially now on social media, then in a lot of the traditional support groups, whether they're the kind in the community center or in the church basement, or you think of everybody in a folding chair telling their story, usually based on type of loss. You have parents without partners, and people who've lost a child, people who've lost a parent, etc. That or on now on social media in Facebook groups that are grief support groups, what you find is people expressing their story. Um, I'm hurting so much. This is what's happened to me. This is who I lost. I miss them so much. I don't know what to do. And because it's not a group that is run by someone who's a professional grief coach or counselor or worker, what you have is then hundreds and sometimes thousands of other people posting as a response, oh, yes, I have that too, and this is my loss. And to me, it just feels like, the I'm sure my friend who's completely visually impaired will allow me to use this analogy. Um, it's like the blind bumping into the blind. Like there is a place for that, but there's no. It's not a therapeutic environment, and that is something that I want for people in dealing with their grief. Is that you have um, not only a therapeutic environment that is a contained space for you to express yourself and in a safe environment that is not triggering or traumatizing, because if you're a highly sensitive person, I don't know if you know what that means. An HSP is a highly sensitive person, and there's a couple of psychologists doing a great deal of work on this. It's beautiful work, and they now realize that about 20% of the population qualify as highly sensitive people, and it isn't the same as being like on the spectrum, but it's not just somebody that's um, I'm a highly sensitive person, so I can say this. It's not just someone that's a pain in the ass, that they're more sensitive to things and they feel things and they're more empathic, and there's a whole slew of things that they're more sensitive to: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. That it's legit 20% of the population, and they are finding that it's about 20% of the animal kingdom population as well. That it's a, a, a way of using your brain. I don't want to call it personality type. It's a way of using your brain that is much more attuned to other people's experience. Now, that, of course, can be a trauma response as well, but I'll just try to stick with the topic of highly sensitive persons. And what happens is, if that's something that you are, um, being in a group setting where other people are constantly telling their story of deep sadness and pain and loss, that can be quite bombarding for a highly sensitive person. So that becomes an unhealthy environment for that person. So that's one of the things when I work with people, one of the first things I like to do is test to see, if how sensitive you are, because you need to work differently with yourself. And since I'm a trauma informed grief educator, I'm also very well versed in a great deal of trauma work. And what I have seen and what I believe is that grief is grief is not actually always trauma. There is certainly a great deal of traumatic grief, traumatic loss, but it doesn't always equal trauma. It depends on the circumstances, the person who you lost, how they passed, all of it. I think it's actually quite common in our society, in such a grief illiterate society with so little support out there. I think that is traumatizing. So I think there is an element of even a 2% traumatic element to grief in Western modern culture. But what I have seen is that grief sort of catapults you into this world of almost becoming more sensitive or more highly sensitive, or becoming, there is so much about trauma work and grief work that are paralleled. So teasing these things out and finding out, not so much in it, am I traumatized or am I not traumatized? Am I sensitive or am I not sensitive? That there is all this in between, this black and white, all or nothing, is this entire world of technicolor. And that's where you live in grief. So finding ways to connect and find compassion and caring are essential because you're in, especially in acute and traumatic grief. Acute grief I define as immediately following your loss of your loved one, immediately following the death. That is hours, days, weeks, months. It varies person to person, loss to loss, and who you were before your loss greatly informs how you mourn and grieve. So you can imagine if someone was struggling with depression, and again, I am not a licensed therapist. I'm a grief coach and a grief educator. But if someone was struggling with uh, pathology like depression before the loss of a loved one, especially a supportive loved one who maybe was the person that was always there for you, you can imagine what happens to their depression after grief. So my work is less the traditional grief narrative of, oh, what stage are you in, or where are you in your grief. Mine is not when are you or where are you, it's who are you and how are you, because I'm working with you as a whole person, not a spreadsheet or a graph or some timeline of what grief is supposed to be. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as what grief is supposed to be. There's your grief. And everyone in grief needs compassion and connection and care. So, one of the reasons I do this, as I said, I don't speak a lot about my own loss experiences. Um, I'll do a video about that in case anybody wants to watch it. But I do this to honor everyone that I've lost. So I thank you for finding me because you helped me with my life purpose in honoring the many people that I've lost, the many loved ones I've lost, human and pet, who all matter to me and who live in my heart. So I just put a link for the handout for this evening in the main discussion feed. Um, it's quite helpful if you grab it and take a peek at it and maybe follow along if you're able to. If not, you can rewatch and download the handout when you can. Um, these replays, by the way, are going to be stored in the guides section of the group through January 5th, and then they're gone. So please make sure to watch them. I will remind you a couple of times to watch them because I will be going into my next phase of content. I don't usually do group content in this free content, which I'm ecstatic to do. I don't normally do it in so much of a series, but the holidays was such a specific piece of content that I really wanted to cover 5 different aspects all in one go. My next free workshops is actually going to be an intensive. It's going to be January 5 through 9. It's 5 days in a row. They might be a little bit shorter than these because 5 days is a lot for all of us. And that's going to be about the essentials in self care for grievers. And they're just little snippets. Um, I don't even, I toy with even using the term self care because it sounds like, getting a facial and eating better. And of course, all of these things are beautiful and important. But self care when you're grieving is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, sensory, creative. It's about your relationship with yourself. There's so much about it. It really is kind of the core of a lot of my grief work. So I'll have a lot of good tips and information on that little workshop. And so what I'd like to do is dive into tonight's topic. And I want you to be asking yourself some questions because you are the best person to be assessing your experience and how well or not well you're doing, or how balanced you're grieving, or how imbalanced, and how much, if at all, you're able to be in the light compared to in more of a dark experience. I don't like a lot of dualistic terms. True, not true. There's, like I said, in between black and white. I always say to people, if you hear yourself using black and white terms, always, never, no one, everyone, that's a little red flag that you're out of balance, because a healthy life is lived in here, not with these extremes of everyone always abandons me, and see, here's proof positive my person just died, or no one's ever here for me, I feel so alone, and I never have anybody that really wants to listen to me, so no one loves me. And see, proof positive my person died. So those are extremes that are red flags telling you you need some help navigating out of those extremes. So black and white, I guess that's, I'm being a little punny, but black and white is a signal that there's you're in an imbalanced uh, frame of mind. So you want to be finding ways of uh, of staying in this full color, more compassionate, more caring space in between. And we're going to dive into a couple of ways to do that. Um, I can only go so deep in this content. I am not working with you one on one. I don't know exactly what you're experiencing. I don't get feedback from you because it's a Zoom live feed into the group, or you're watching a replay. So my preference is to work with people in my group setting, in my programs, and one on one, because there is so much profound part of your grieving that we can address when we are connected in that scenario. So, since this topic is partly about connection, this is a light connection to be watching a video. I hope it's helpful. I do make sure that I'm giving you information that I think is enough that you can handle right now, since you're not in a one-on-one setting or my group programs, to have that support of me being there live with you to say, hey, what's happening right now? Tell me more. Let's dive into this. So that's really beautiful and powerful work. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to be able to do with people and to help people in this way. So I thank you again. So on your handout, I have, oh, you know what? I think I'm able to, I have, oh, you know what? I think I'm able to, maybe not. I'm gonna mute that. Sorry, I'm still figuring out the tech always. So on the handout, there is a page. I'm just going to go old school here instead of trying to screen share. And one of the pages says connection and self-care messages. So one of the things that's very helpful for you to do in a way of caring for yourself and being self-compassionate is to bear witness to your own grief experience and how you're doing. And so my first question is, how compassionate are you being to yourself in grief? And I want you to rate it from 1 to 10. The scale of 1 to 10, 1 is not at all. You could even give a 0 if you want, and 10 being I'm being fully unconditionally loving and supportive to myself. You can even spinal tap it and give yourself an 11 if you're really off the charts, connected and compassionate and caring for yourself. So and I'd like you to do this and track this throughout the day. You can set a reminder on your phone. There's an app. I'll have to find that and put that in the comments. There's an app that helps you track things like that, and it might be free. That would be nice. So that it kind of just says, hey, how you doing? Like, you could program it in to remind you to check in with yourself. Check in with yourself and say, how could I'm really, I'm kind of beating myself up right now. I'm upset that I'm upset, or I'm upset that I'm angry, or I'm judging myself that I'm sad, or I'm judging myself that I'm not feeling something right now. There's this whole slew of ways that we are unkind to ourselves and not compassionate to ourselves. Now, of course, we want compassion and connection and support and caring from other people. And it's also an inside job. The more you are supporting and caring for yourself and the more compassionate you are with yourself, the stronger of a foundation you will build over time. So that's number one, tracking this a few times a day or 20 times a day. How compassionate am I being to myself right now in my grief? And it isn't about judging your emotions. It's about taking a look at, am I judging my emotions or am I judging my behavior? Because judging yourself is not caring for yourself. It is not compassionate and it is not a connected way to function. So now don't judge yourself that you're judging yourself. So that's the first question. The second one is, how much are you judging your style of grieving? So we all have a style of grieving. I have whole workshops about archetypes. And again, who you are and who you were before your loss greatly informs how you grieve and how you handle your grieving. If you're a real warrior, you might be saying, I've got to get through this. This is a problem to solve. And I'm going to just do all the things and I'm going to just feel better in a month and I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this kicked and I'll be just fine. And that may not be the most supportive way to care for yourself because grief brings on vulnerability that the warrior archetype is deeply uncomfortable with. So I love working on people's archetypes and helping you figure out what are the different archetypes that they're like symbols. Like when you meet someone, whether or not they have children and they're a natural mother, you know a natural mother when you meet one, or somebody that's a natural leader, or a natural general, or drill sergeant, or someone that's a child, even if they're an adult. Someone who's got star quality, that's an archetype. So finding out these ways that inform who you are and what your personality is, there are strengths and weaknesses to those archetypes, and working with them for your grief is very powerful work. So again, tracking a few times during the day, how much are you then judging your style of grieving? And finding out what is your style of grieving. Make some notes on this. Sit down and think about this. A lot of what we're doing here is, grief sort of hijacks your mind and your nervous system and your body and your emotions and, sometimes your spiritual connection and your belief and your hope in life. And this is sort of bringing you to this sort of quiet, still space of saying, okay, so there's a style of grieving. What is my style of grieving? I don't know. I'm all over the map. Again, no judgment. Just write out whatever comes to you. It may be, I'm completely shutting down and I don't want anything to do with anyone. And I am so angry and hurt and sad that I'm not functioning. Okay, well, that's a style. And as you begin to track these things, you may want to get a daily journal or a diary so that you can track these things day to day. And I ask that of people because, especially in acute and traumatic loss, and I hear you saying this to me, many of you, all the time, that it just feels like I'm going to feel this way forever. And it's very hard to function with that belief system. So as you write things down, even if it's with, I'm probably giving away the trick here, that this compassionate, how compassionate you're being yourself, are you judging yourself? What is your style of grieving? That as you do it, either every day or throughout the day, you do notice these just even minor, minuscule shifts and changes. And that is a message that's very deep and very powerful to your heart, to your subconscious, to your nervous system, that this is not a stuckness forever. Whatever it is you're experiencing, grief will constantly shift. It's sort of like changing a radio dial, and it might shift 20, 30 times in one day. But that it's important to go with that and allow whatever your experience is without judgment. As long as you are safe and you know that you have a supportive sort of oversight, whether it's from a professional. And the next thing that we're going to get to is this part of you that will be aware of your experience. Now, I'm not saying you're going to just take charge of this and you're going to handle this and you're going to be fine. This is a deep inner part of you, and it's called the loving, wise adult. And some people call it like the higher self. There is this aspect of you that is able to then bear witness and say, even here you are in grief, you're in active grief, and you're able to take this moment to say, I am kind of judging myself, or even the ability to rate yourself on a 1 to 10 is this separating into this other part that is able to be aware and support and care for you in grief. So one of the things I ask people to do, and this one could take some time because I want you to be tracking yourself. And this can be hard because especially in grief, acute and traumatic grief, you may not realize a lot of what you're saying and thinking. You may not even realize that you're being hard on yourself, or that you're judging yourself, or that um, you're not being as compassionate with yourself as you might be with another person who is experiencing this. So, what sentences or statements or actions are you repeating? And this is something that I want you to observe from this higher aspect of yourself. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to do a very brief guided imagery. And normally I would do this much deeper and really go into communication and connection between these aspects of yourself. But for tonight's exercise, I just want to introduce these players, if you will, so that you can then work from them. And it's really, if you've never done any inner child work or loving wise adult work or alignment work, this is really powerful to even understand that you have different aspects of yourself in a very healthy way. And it's this connection in between all these different aspects that can become very supportive for you in grief. So, what we're going to do, um, so this other piece of homework, I want you to do that on your own. What sentences or statements or actions are you repeating? Are you on loop saying, "Oh, this is crazy. I should be over this by now." Sometimes, because if we're not talking to another person, you may not realize what your self-talk is and how uncaring it can be. So I'd like you to do that as an exercise. Try to really listen into what you're saying to yourself, what you have on repeat, and what actions you're doing, and what statements and sentences you're saying to yourself. So let's get relaxed. And we're going to just close our eyes and take a couple deep breaths and do a very, I kind of go on long with these, but I'm going to try to keep this one short so that we can then do a little bit of work around it. So if you're seated, you're welcome to recline, lay down, get comfortable. And, what I'd like you to do is maybe scrunch up your shoulders really tight and then let it go. We tend to hold patterns in our body, especially in acute and traumatic grief. If there's a shock or long-term sadness, we get into different poses and postures, and it really becomes, it's called armoring in body work. And so sometimes even just doing a little scrunching, and that's why massage and body work feels so amazing, because it starts to unlock those patterns. And that's why you can have some emotional reactions and releases during body work as well. So I'd like you to just relax, close your eyes, and just take a nice deep breath. You can put your hands over your belly and breathe into your belly really deep. You can even push your belly out to pull that oxygen and air all the way down into your belly, and then breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth like you're blowing out candles on a birthday cake. Don't force your breath, just allow it to come naturally. But I do want you breathing down deep into your belly. And what I'd like you to do is just take some awareness of how you feel just right in this moment right now. Just how you're feeling, if you're relaxed, or if you're feeling any emotions or any thoughts, just neutral, nothing, anything that you're feeling or experiencing right now. And just remember there are no right or wrong answers here. Not black and white, not all or nothing. Anything is true and right and exactly your experience. So sometimes if you see things in your mind's eye, the reason I ask you to close your eyes is because I want you to be working in your mind's eye. Some people work better on a kinesthetic level that maybe they don't see as much, but they feel more or they hear more or they just have a knowing or an awareness. So there's no wrong answers. And if you don't feel or see something or experience something, it is perfectly acceptable to just imagine it. This exercise is designed to connect you with deeper parts of yourself. So, releasing judgment and showing love and care and compassion for yourself is everything. So, any this awareness of anything you might have a feeling about, or anything you've been worried about, or anything that's happening, just allow an awareness of that as if it's sort of just like a ball out in front of you. You can give it a name, give it a feeling, give it a color, and just where, if you were going to just place that in your body, where would you feel that in your body? Do you feel it above your body, over your head, around your heart, your stomach? Anywhere in your body, anywhere in your body. And I'd like you to go into that space on your body. Again, if you're not seeing something or aware of something, just the first thing that pops in your head is always the most important one. Don't second guess, don't judge it, and don't backpedal and don't undo it. Just allow it. Just don't be easy. Be easy with yourself. Be easy with yourself. Bring your awareness into where in your body that feeling is. And bring your awareness into your body in that place. Inhabit that place for just a moment as you breathe deeply and just allow a deeper sense of relaxation in this safe internal space that's all yours. It's here just for you. What I'd like you to allow into your awareness is a younger version of yourself, a version that may have encountered this feeling or issue or thought that you were having when we first started. Just allow in your awareness this young version that's associated with this feeling or this idea or this thought, whatever you were having. And if it was nothingness, just allow into your awareness this younger version of yourself and be aware of what they look like. Be aware of what kind of age they might be. I'm never very good at guessing ages, so it doesn't matter what number age they are. Just be aware of sort of where they are in life. What do they look like? How are they feeling? What are any details about them? Are they in any particular setting? This is a place where you can interact with them. For this exercise, we will do this as you and them, because I really want you to meet them and them to meet you. I want you to be aware of any emotions they're having, any communication that might be happening between you, whether it's actually being said or it's just understood. If there's any thoughts that come to mind, if you look at them and say, hey, gosh, they're fill in the blank with that. And what I'd like you to do, if you would choose to do this on your own, what I'd like you to do is communicate with them by giving them a great big hug and telling them that you're there for them. And allowing into your awareness anything that they may need from you in this moment, besides, of course, the knowledge and the understanding that they're not alone. You're with them. Be aware of any communication, anything that they need to hear from you, and anything that they want to communicate to you, and any support that you have for them, and possibly they for you. Our inner children can be quite wise because they are a beautiful, pure version of us that lives with us. And now I want you to be aware of this version of you that is supporting the younger version of you. And realize there is the you that is experiencing this and witnessing a loving, wise adult version of yourself that is there to support and comfort and care for and connect to this younger version of you. And I want you to stay with this for a moment and really allow in this support and this inner access to connection and compassion, so much compassion for this younger version of you, so much love and so much caring. I want you to allow into your awareness any details about this loving, wise adult version of yourself. What are you wearing? What are you saying to this younger version? What action are you taking? What do you know that they need? What does the loving, wise adult version of you know without a doubt that this younger version of you needs? And how can they supply it? What are the priorities that this loving, wise adult has for that younger version of you? And I'd like you to hold that space of that love and that connection and that care and drink it in. And if there's any statement that that loving, wise adult version of you needs to say, allow that to be expressed and understood because you need to hear it too. And if there's any behavior that that loving, wise adult would like you to take on to reinforce the loving statement and the connection and compassion and care, allow that into your awareness. If there is something you need to do to reinforce this love and connection and care, something that you will bring out into your world for yourself. And as you take a couple of deep breaths, I want you to be aware of the loving, wise adult version of you and the child hugging each other if they have not already been hugging, and that you get in on that too. I want a little group hug in here, knowing always that this loving, wise adult version of you and this inner child version of you are available for you at any time for connection, compassion, care, and support because they love you unconditionally. And as you take another deep breath, you can open your eyes, give yourself a nice big hug, thinking about those inner versions of you that are always there, always waiting to connect and care for you and have compassion for you and for you to have compassion for them. And if there's any emotions or feelings that have come up during this, make note of them. Remember, without judgment. I have a place in your homework where I list different details for you to make notes right away about any of my guided imagery, meditation, hypnotherapy sessions, so that while it's fresh in your mind, you're writing down details that really help anchor the feeling, the insight, anything that comes to you or anything that shifts. It's deeper work than it appears to be from the outside. So now I would ask you to have these other questions answered on the homework, and that is, how can you care for yourself in your grief as a loving, wise adult would care for a young child? I want you to bring that dynamic from the inside and you just write it down on this paper. That's all you have to do right now is just write it down. No pressure. And then what are some loving statements to repeat to your inner child? If you were to imagine you are with this younger version of yourself all the time, instead of these statements up here, or these actions, or these sentences of things there, you're judging yourself and you're hard on yourself and you're not being compassionate, you're not caring. I want you to flip that narrative and begin to use more loving statements with yourself. And then lastly, write out any kind of plan that you have for yourself just right now in how you're going to care for yourself in your grief. And that may mean rewatching my videos. Please do. I have more content coming up. Uh, but this navigating the holidays, even though they were holiday specific, all 5 topics resonate and are such deep work any time of the year. But remember, they're only in the group through January 5. I'll be pulling them down and putting up new content. So I invite you to stay with the feeling of compassionate, connected, caring for yourself because you deserve it. You deserve to be well cared for in your grief. And I want you to have that support and care for yourself. Um, and I want you to start making a plan for that, whatever that looks like for you, because that's what a caring, loving, wise adult does um, for a younger version of themselves. It's up to you to make that healthy plan, a plan that is balanced, not imbalanced. A plan, you've had a plan for everything you've ever done in your life, whether you articulated it, wrote it out, or not. Whether it was getting married, I'm going to have kids, we're going to move here, we're going to buy this house, we're going to take this education, now I'm going to get a higher education, all of these different things. But when it comes to grief, it's there's no plan. It's not a plan to fix it, it's a plan to navigate it and function in a balanced, healthy way that keeps you um, aligned and healthy. So as you handle the sadness and the heartache and everything that comes with it. So I am sending you so much love and support. And I will be announcing some opening dates for my next program in January soon, I promise. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about that and let you know some different opportunities. I'm kind of fine tuning a little bit of a different format so that I can help more people uh, in the way that I need to work with people because I'm a pretty deep dive worker. I just figure with everything that grief brings you, for me personally, I want as much help as I can get as soon as I can get it. So I'm wishing you um, a beautiful day of connection and compassion and care. And I thank you, and I will see you soon. I'm sending you love. Bye bye.